So once upon a time in your dating past, you contracted an STD, and now you're ready to start dating again and get into a new relationship. And that can be difficult. And we're going to talk about it in today's video. Hey singles, it's Jay. Welcome back to my channel where we are mastering single life. Today's episode is going to be a little more serious because we're talking about dating and STDs. So let's get started. I want to start this video off by saying your sexual history is yours and you can protect it or share it with whomever you choose at the right time for you. Don't feel pressured to divulge your sexual history as soon as you meet someone new. That part of your life will reveal itself in time. Just worry about meeting the person, getting to know who they are as a human being, and then work on when is the right time to let this person know what your history is. Let me say something else about STDs. Whether people want to admit it or not, many of us as human beings, if you are sexually active, have come into contact with some sort of sexually transmitted disease, and it can be difficult to express that. But the truth is, a lot of us have dealt with it in some way. But just because people have dealt with it doesn't mean that people are ready to talk about it or hear what your experience is. Just because people are aware of what STDs are and how they're contracted doesn't mean that they're ready to deal with it. It can still be very sensitive to them. So we want to give them the grace to deal with this news that you have an STD at their own discretion. You know, everybody moves differently. Everyone communicates differently and everyone understands differently. So give them the chance to work through what their understanding is and what their emotions are, and don't attack people for not being knowledgeable about what your particular STD is or being willing to deal with someone who has an STD, okay? Don't hate somebody who doesn't want to date someone who has HIV, okay? That's their personal choice. You will find someone who wants to be with you for you despite your status. When is the right time to tell someone that you have an STD? That is a tricky question because we are all working on our own timeline and people are comfortable with different things at different times in their life. I will say this though, when you're on a first date with someone, let's not start the date off by divulging that you have an STD before we got our artichoke dip, okay? Like, let's not let that be the first thing on the menu, okay? Let's get some appetizers in us first. And then maybe we can talk about what our status is. But even on the first date, when you first meet someone, that's just not the time to talk about your status or your sexual history. Make sure that you have gotten to know that person, because when you are sharing part of your life, whether it's your family history, whether it's your finances, whether it's some PTSD you've been through, you would not share that information with someone you just met. That information comes out over time. The more you get to know someone, the more comfortable you become with them, then the more open you become and the more willing you are to share your life and your experiences with that person. But you want to make sure that the person in your life with whom you are sharing this information is someone worthy of that information. And what I mean by that is, if this is someone you're casually dating and you don't think that you have a chance to grow something serious with them, then maybe that's not the person you should share your sexual history with or your status with. I do think that if you are going to be in an intimate relationship with this person, then you should very much so consider having that talk with them. I think anyone who's in an intimate relationship should have a talk about sex, sexual partners, sexually transmitted diseases. When's the last time you had an STD test? That is just the responsible thing to do, because you never know who someone has been with or how many people they've been with or what their sexual practices are. And it's good to know that before you get into an intimate situation with this person. Don't have sex with them 3 times and then ask them, hey, when's the last time you had an STD test? That's not how things work. I don't know why people are so afraid to talk about sex. It's like, we are having sex, we are doing the do, so why not talk about the sex before we have the sex? Don't talk about the sex after you have the sex. Talk about the sex before you have the sex. It's interesting how we don't open up and ask those questions. We'll ask if you got a job, how long you've been there, if you have an education, but the most intimate part of ourselves that we're sharing with someone is our bodies, and we don't ask any prerequisite questions about that. Isn't that interesting? me know what you think. There are some STDs that are curable, and there are some STDs that don't have a cure. Now, if you had a curable STD, it is up to you whether or not you want to share that information with your partner. Maybe it was a one-time thing. You learned your lesson. You started to practice safe sex after that. But I think it will bring you guys closer together if you and your partner, if you share that information, because people connect over information. And if you're willing to share something that's a little uncomfortable with yourself, people do appreciate. There are some who appreciate your transparency and they find that to be an endearing quality. But again, there could be those who are scared off from that information. So it is I don't want to say a crapshoot, but it is kind of a catch-22. But it all depends on the person that you're dealing with and how you feel. Like, did we connect? Do I feel like this person is really judgmental? Do I feel like this person is open and honest and transparent and listens and understands and works through issues? If so, then have that conversation with them. But again, if you don't think that this situation or the person you're dating, if you don't think their relationship is going anywhere, this was an STD you had in the past that's curable, it might not to you feel like an important thing to share with them. And that's okay, because again, you've been cured from this STD. You're not putting this person in risk of getting an STD, especially if you know what your status is. If you've been recently tested, everything came back clean bill of health, then you might feel like, okay, I'm just going to continue with this relationship as I see fit and not share that with them. That's okay too. But as long as you're not putting the person that you're dating in a situation where they can also contract an STD, then it's really dealer's choice. You know, if that's what you want to do, if you want to share that, that's fine. And if you don't want to share that, that can also be fine. For the incurable STDs such as HIV, HSV, and HPV, I think with all my heart that if you are going to have an intimate relationship with someone, you have to tell them your status before you become intimate, because no matter what, you could potentially be putting them at risk of contracting that disease, and they need to know up front and have the choice. Do not deny people the choice or the opportunity to choose what they want for their life. If someone chooses not to sleep with someone who has HIV, that is their choice, and we have to respect it. It is not only disrespectful, it is rude, it is immoral, it is improper for you to keep such information to yourself when you are becoming intimate with someone, because you're putting them at risk. You're not exposing them, but you're taking away their choice, and that's just not fair. I want to be given the choice. I want you to share that information with me. I want to be able to ask questions about your status, how it was contracted, how do you stay safe, how many relationships have you been in before, do you know the status of your ex-partners? I want to have that conversation. I want to ask the questions. I want to be at ease. I want to feel comfortable with the information, and I want to feel comfortable with you. I don't want to find out later after we've been intimate that you have this situation and you didn't tell me, because I'm going to feel like you lied to me, and I'm going to lose trust in you, and that immediately is going to break my connection with you. So I want to stay connected to the person that I'm seeing, that I'm dating, that I'm becoming intimate with. And in order for me to do that, we have to have an open line of communication. I need to feel like I can trust you. I am trusting you with my body, and I'm trusting you with my life. So don't betray my trust. Be open with that information and let me decide for me if that's something I want to deal with. So I'm going to give you an example. Full transparency, I have HPV. Now, human papillomavirus. So if you have done your research, you know that HPV comes in multiple types. There are 100 different strands. And according to the CDC, the majority of Americans who are sexually active have some strain of HPV, most of them being inactive. But there are a few strains that are active, one of them being genital warts, one of them being testicular cancer. The one I have is the strain that causes cervical cancer. So when I went to the doctor, got my test results back, found out that I had HPV. Then they tested the strain of HPV, found out that it was the kind that causes cervical cancer. Did some more tests, found out that I had precancer cells. So for me, I know that I have this virus, HPV, that can cause cervical cancer in women. Now, I'm obviously having, well, not I'm obviously, I would be in a relationship with a man, so my HPV wouldn't put him in particular risk because men don't have cervixes. Men don't have a cervix. A man does not have a cervix, so he would not be at risk of getting cervical cancer. But let's say I have sex with a guy, he contracts HPV from me, the strain that causes cervical cancer. We break up. He goes and sleeps with another woman, and now she's contracted HPV that causes cervical cancer. Now she's at risk of getting cervical cancer. So that's why it's important for you to share that information, because maybe he wasn't ready to deal with that. And if he contracts it, then he would be putting his potential future partners at risk as well. And that's not fair to them. When it comes to HPV, there are many ways that it can be contracted, but it isn't a sexually transmitted disease. But it is, the virus lives on the skin around your reproductive organ. So it can be on the labia, it can be on the testicles, it can be on the top, bottom, front side. Okay, it's not just in the fluids, it's like all around. It can be on your mouth. So if there is oral sex, you can transmit and contract HPV that way. So that's why it's, especially if you have HPV or HSV or even HIV, is really important to share your status with your partner if you are beginning an intimate relationship, because you never know what, well, not HIV, but HSV and HPV can be contracted without, fluid transmission. And people, your potential partner needs to know that, because again, they can be putting themselves at risk. And if things don't work out, they could be putting their other partners at risk. There are ways that you can protect yourself. There is, obviously condoms, but the best way to protect yourself against HPV is by getting the vaccine Gardasil. But after the age of 25, there hasn't been enough research to show that the Gardasil vaccine is, what's the word, effective on people over the age of 25. Again, the CDC says that the majority of adults who are sexually active have some form of HPV. So if you get the HPV at 30, according to the CDC, it's like too late, because they believe that the studies have shown that you already have some form, so you can't protect against something you already have. I don't know. I don't understand the science of it. I obviously thought that if you have one strain and you get a vaccine for the other strains, that it would prevent you from getting those. But I don't know. Well, I'll talk to like some STD scientists about that. But all in all, just because you have an STD doesn't mean you have taken yourself out of the running to date someone or get into a committed relationship or get married or have children. That is not the case. It does not stop you from having love in your life and having happiness. It's just a situation that you have to deal with. But having an STD is one of those things that can toy with your self-esteem and your self-confidence, and can affect your dating habits, because you have this like nagging secret in the back of your head that you have this STD, and it can cause anxiety, and it can cause you to like, what do they call it? Sabotage your dating life. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to be alone the rest of your life just because you have an STD. You don't have to think that no one will love you or accept you. It is totally not true. Someone will love you. Someone will accept you. You can go on dates. You can be happy. You can get married. You can have a baby. All of that is possible even though you have an STD. We got medicines. We have medical procedures that can help you live a healthy life, that can protect your partner, protect your future children from any of the incurable STDs. So that should not be a weighing factor on you. And if it is, if right now you are dealing with an STD and you are afraid to start dating or go on dates, let me tell you right now, don't be. Go on those dates. Ask that girl out. Ask that guy out. Get on Bumble. Get on Tinder. This does not have to stop you from having a relationship or dating or being intimate, none of that. You just have to be safer with it. You have to be open and honest and transparent with the partners who potentially you could be intimate with. And when it comes to, when that time comes, be honest. Don't be afraid to have that conversation. Don't shy away from it. Even if you share your status with your potential partner and they're not interested, know in your heart, be confident, be strong in this fact right here. Someone will accept you. There is someone out there for you. I believe that there is someone out there for everyone. If felons can find love, if Trump can find love, then you can find love as well. And your status is irrelevant. It's just something that is a part of you that you take with you for the rest of your life, but it doesn't make you who you are. You are who you are. You just got this little asterisk, if you will, over on your life. You could be going through something and your partner could be going through something, but the only way that you guys are going to get through it is together. And sometimes the only way out is through. You like that, huh? That was good. That's good. If you have any questions about how an STD is contracted or transmitted, then ask your primary physician. Well, that's all I have for today's video. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate all the likes. I also appreciate you guys helping me get to 200 subscribers. Yay! Thank you so much for supporting my channel. If you guys haven't done so yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more videos from me and hit that notification bell so that you know when I upload new videos. I upload videos every week about finances, cooking for one, and lifestyle. Follow me on all of my social media at JSoExtra. And if you want to have a deeper conversation about what it means to be single in 2020, especially during a pandemic, then join me in my private Facebook group called Team So Extra. And I will see you guys in another video. But until then, stay safe and also know your status.